$10, that's less than a foot-long sandwich, less than 2 movie tickets, less than what most people spend on coffee before Wednesday. Now imagine that $10 every single week for the next 30 years. Most people hear that and shrug. $10 a week sounds like a rounding error, a joke, something a personal finance influencer says to make you feel better about not having real money to invest. But here's the uncomfortable part. That $10 invested consistently, without fail, without panic selling, without checking the price every day like it's a heartbeat monitor, turns into something most people will never believe until they see the number written down. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's talk about what actually happens to your life if you invested $10 a week. Not the fantasy version, the real one. With the boring years, the crashes, the doubt, and the math that nobody explains properly. Right now, in 2026, there's a strange contradiction sitting in plain sight. Wages feel stagnant. Rent feels absurd. Groceries cost more than they should. And yet, somehow, the stock market keeps grinding upward, year after year, decade after decade, like it's completely unaware of how expensive everyone's life has become. That contradiction is exactly why this topic matters right now, because the gap between people who own assets and people who don't isn't closing. It's widening quietly, without headlines. And the people on the winning side of that gap usually didn't get there through a lucky stock pick or a secret formula. They got there through something almost embarrassingly simple. Small amounts, repeated automatically for a long time. That's it. That's the whole secret. No hype, no shortcuts, just time behaving exactly the way time behaves. So let's break down how this actually works, step by step, without the textbook voice. You take $10 a week, that's $40 a month, roughly. You put it into a low-cost index fund, something that tracks the broader market instead of betting on a single company. Historically, that market has returned somewhere around 7 to 10% a year on average, after accounting for inflation, though not every year. And definitely not in a straight line. In year one, this feels pointless. You've invested about $520. Your portfolio might be worth $560. You check the app, see a number that wouldn't cover a plane ticket and think, this is a waste of time. This is the exact moment most people quit. And this is exactly where the math starts working against your intuition. Because compounding doesn't reward you early. It rewards you late. Brutally, almost unfairly late. Here's the mechanism most people never grasp properly. Compounding isn't just interest on your money. It's interest on your interest, which sounds abstract until you see it in motion. By year 10, you've contributed about $5,200. Depending on market performance, your account might sit around $8,000. Decent.L. Not exciting. Still feels like a slow burn. By year 20, your contributions total roughly $10,400. But your account, assuming consistent growth around 8% annually, could be sitting near $24,000. Suddenly, the money you put in is less than half of what you actually have. By year 30, you've contributed about $15,600 total. Your account could be worth somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000, depending on market conditions. That means more than 2/3 of your final balance was never money you put in. It was money the market generated for you while you were living your life, distracted by everything except your investment account. That's the twist nobody tells you clearly. The money you contribute becomes the least important part of the equation. Time becomes the engine, not effort, not intelligence, not timing the market perfectly, just showing up consistently for a very long time. Now here's where hype and reality start to diverge. And this is where most finance content gets dishonest. Social media loves showing you the year 30 number. The $60,000 outcome from $10 contributions looks like magic. It gets clipped, captioned, and turned into a dopamine hit. What it conveniently leaves out is the 27 years of nothing happening that had to occur before that number showed up. There will be a 2008-style crash somewhere in your journey where your portfolio drops 30 or 40% in months. There will be a pandemic-level shock. There will be a stretch of 5, maybe 7 years where your balance barely moves, where inflation eats into your gains, where you genuinely wonder if this whole thing is a scam dressed up as wisdom. The hype sells the destination. Reality demands you survive the middle, and the middle is where almost everyone fails. Not because the math stops working, because human patience runs out before the compounding kicks in. There's a quiet irony buried in all of this. The people most desperate for fast money, the ones chasing meme stocks, leveraged options, overnight crypto flips, are usually trying to skip the boring part. But the boring part is the entire mechanism. Remove the boring part, and you remove the compounding. You're not investing anymore. You're gambling with extra steps and a nicer vocabulary. Meanwhile, the $10 a week investor doing nothing dramatic ends up outperforming most people who thought they were being clever. Let's zoom out further, because the implications go beyond one person's portfolio. If $10 a week can create tens of thousands of dollars over 30 years, what does that say about the people who could never spare that $10 in the first place? What does it say about a system where consistent small investing quietly builds generational wealth for some households, while others remain locked out simply because $10 a week feels impossible when rent already eats half a paycheck? This is where the story stops being about personal discipline and starts becoming about structural gaps. Compounding doesn't discriminate, but access to consistent surplus income absolutely does. The same math that builds wealth for one person can feel like an insulting suggestion to someone living paycheck to paycheck. There's also a psychological risk hiding inside this strategy. The moment people see the 20-year or 30-year numbers, some panic in the opposite direction. They think $10 isn't enough, so they increase contributions recklessly, take on debt to invest more, or chase riskier assets to accelerate the timeline. That impatience often destroys the very compounding they were trying to speed up. The uncomfortable truth is this: $10 a week isn't a strategy for getting rich quickly. It's a strategy for becoming a different kind of person over 3 decades. Someone who doesn't panic during crashes. Someone who treats investing like a bill, not a bet. Someone willing to be boring in a culture obsessed with instant results. Whether that's inspiring or unsettling probably depends on your age, your patience, and how honestly you can look at your own spending habits. So here's where this leaves us. If $10 a week can quietly turn into $50,000 or $60,000 over 30 years, the real question isn't whether the math works. It clearly does. The real question is why so many people, capable of finding 10 spare dollars somewhere in their week, still won't do it. Is it a lack of information? Or is it something else? Something closer to disbelief that something this simple could actually work in a world that constantly insists wealth requires complexity. That's the part worth sitting with.